Greetings, loved ones. One of the most difficult decisions a parent must make is determining when is it safe to leave a child at home alone. Most childcare experts and parent educators are reluctant to offer advice for fear of encouraging parents to leave young children unattended. So today we're going to talk about when is it all right to leave your child alone. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You could save a life. Work is a financial necessity for many parents. Some parents, because of isolation from relatives or lack of appropriate or affordable childcare, feel that they have no alternative to leaving their children alone while they are at work. They see their choice as feeding their children or paying someone to care for them after school. According to the National Committee for the Prevention of Child Abuse, some 7 million children in the United States return to empty houses after school. I was one of those children. Nationwide, that is about 1 child in 4. According to the National PTA, 65% of the mothers of school-aged children in the United States work outside of the home. Single-parent households now account for 25% of families, and the number is rising. If more women enter the workforce, the likelihood is that the number of children left alone to care for themselves daily will increase. The real solution to this issue is to ensure that low-cost, readily accessible child care is available to anyone who needs it. Child welfare professionals and advocates across the United States have focused lobbying efforts toward this achievement. Unfortunately, the long-term solution does not offer answers to parents now faced with deciding if it is all right to leave their child alone. Children have no magic age when staying alone suddenly turns safe. Your child's readiness for self-care depends on many factors, including the environmental circumstances of the situation, your child's level of maturity, dependability, and ability to make reasonable decisions, and your child's relationship to you. So let's talk about environmental circumstances. Here are some things you should think about. How long will the child be left alone? What time of day is it? How close is the child to trusted adults who can help in an emergency? How safe is the environment? What is expected of the child? For example, is the child responsible for the care of a younger sibling? How easily can you be reached by the telephone? Those are things to consider for the environment. So let's look at the maturity of the child. There are many different levels and indicators of maturity. Your child's actions or inaction can tell you a lot about their capacities and abilities. Children are not miniature adults. Maturity is a long and gradual process. A responsible person can carry out a duty and is answerable for his own behavior. Characteristics and behaviors you can look at when trying to determine the level of your child's maturity include age, such as although chronological age does not necessarily give a child maturity, there are characteristics and capabilities necessary to self-care, which developmentally are age-linked. For example, no 3-year-old child has developed the physical or mental capabilities necessary for self-care. Another thing is ability to think through things, to reason and use logic. In the age, you want to look at truthfulness. Truthfulness reflects a child's ability to accept responsibility for his actions. You will be depending on your child to share his daily experiences with you and to be truthful about what has occurred during his self-care. You also will be depending on your child's obedience to the rules of the home. Another thing in age is the ability to plan ahead. Planning ahead is reflective of the child's ability to reason. Your child's ability to plan their time will have an impact on their actions during self-care, whether they find themselves alone with a lot of extra time spent in front of the television or in inappropriate activities, or whether their time is used constructively and beneficially. Another thing with maturity and age is independence and the ability to say no. Crucial to successful self-care is a child's ability to resist temptation or the pressure of peers. Another thing to look at is self-esteem. One essential ingredient to successful child care is the child's confidence in himself and his abilities. Another thing to look at is ability to enforce rules and appropriately discipline if responsible for the care of siblings. Another thing is ability to discriminate right from wrong and the ability to recognize and respond to an emergency. Another thing to consider in leaving your child alone is dependability. A child's dependability can be measured in little ways. Does she arrive places on schedule? Do chores get finished? Does he stay where planned without wandering around the neighborhood? Does she inform you before leaving home? And does he follow instructions and directions? Another thing to consider is the ability to make reasonable decisions. When children are left alone, adults trust them to make reasonable decisions. Like, should I open the door to this stranger? Or would it be okay if my friends come in? Or can I heat up some oil for popcorn? Children usually cannot call to ask permission for every decision they must make while they're alone. Adults need to evaluate how well a child makes decisions before that child is left alone. Another thing to consider, and this is really important, is your child's relationship to you. For self-care to be successful, you and your child must have a relationship that encourages honest and open communication. Staying alone can be a very scary thing. Your child must feel free to discuss his fears and his feelings with you, as well as any problems he might experience. If after answering these questions you cannot decide if your child is ready for self-care, he probably is not ready. Self-care requires your full confidence in your child's abilities. It is unfair and unrealistic for you to expect your child to function well in a situation for which neither of you is ready. According to the CDC, over half of all the children in the world, that's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17, experience violence every year. The question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. If you're a victim of violence, I want you to listen to me. I want you to know that you are valued, you are loved, you are intelligent, and yes, you are worthy. God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. I want you to know there's a way out of the abuse. It's not your fault. Abuse is not love, and most of all, you are not alone. If you're a victim of violence, please reach out to someone today. And if you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will continue discussing abuse, accidents, and supervision, focusing on the importance of supervising your children. Until then, God bless you.